Social media as an initial concept was actually a really, really good idea. But as this whole platform, not just YouTube isolated, but social media as a whole, as it's evolved, it's quite frankly been a net negative on our environment, not only online, but even seen within our reality. We have bred a more anxious, a more dependent, and a more angry generation than has been initially anticipated. Social media has glaring issues. None of these are unique. These are not the first time we are hearing of these issues, but these are the main problems I have with social media as a whole. Not because it's bad in its totality, but what it's become has been much worse than what its initial creators probably had in mind. Today we're going to be talking about the problems with social media. So number one, our screen time addiction is something that is straight out of Black Mirror. Screen time is through the roof, not only with younger children, not only with the younger generation, but screen time addiction is through the roof for everybody. No discrimination. Everyone is affected by screen time. Now, when your parents would tell you you're spending too much time on that game or get off that phone, you're feeling bad and it's all due to that phone, they were not completely wrong. Screen time is, quite frankly, almost entirely correlated with anxiety. Now, correlation and causation are two very, very different things. We are very aware of that. Correlation does not equal causation. Causation and correlation are very, very separate. Just because something is bad doesn't mean it's the cause of all the problems in the world, right? But we've seen that we've created a more anxious generation. This has even been seen within pets. If you have a pet, more likely it's more anxious than it's ever been, and screen time is also higher than it's ever been. There is a correlation, and we just can't ignore it forever. There has to be some sort of in-between middle ground, especially for younger children that can't necessarily, it's not that they can't choose, but don't need to adapt to such extensive 12 plus hours of screen time daily. It's not necessary for a child to be going through that. We shouldn't subject them to that. And these algorithms have made social media more and more addicting by the day. It's also increased feelings of alienation because it increases competition and inferiority. Back in the 1990s or 1980s or even the 1970s, the only competition a person really had, not just a young man, but even a young woman, was probably the people within their neighborhood, right? You just want to be better than little Ricky from down the street, right? You don't want to be better than the entire world because you can't even conceptualize something like that. But little Ricky, you want to have a nicer bike than him. You want to be stronger than him. You want to get more girls than him, right? That was about the extent of competition as far as your social structure was concerned. But now we are competing with the entire world at the same exact time, which in theory shouldn't be bad, right? We should want to better ourselves and compete at a larger scale. That should breed a better generation, a smarter, more witty generation of humans. And on average, every generation is smarter because of the knowledge that compounds. The problem is it didn't just compound in that one way. Now that we have competition with the entire world, our world feels harder and more difficult to attain what these people have. Just because you are introduced to new competition that wasn't there before doesn't mean you're automatically going to become better. But it does mean you are automatically going to feel worse because these people are better than you in almost every conceivable way you can think of, which sucks. That is not something children should be subjected to. We shouldn't just be looking at each other to compete with. We want to be together. We want to grow together. We want to socialize with each other, which was social media's initial concept. It's allowing people to consume the media they want, connect with people how they want to, and quite frankly, connect with more people than ever before. That was the initial concept. We have strayed very, very far away from that initial concept. It is no longer that. Social media is now something very, very different than what we initially thought it was going to be, or what we thought it probably should have been. Now, increased competition is not a bad thing, like I said. But what is bad about the increased competition is that now these platforms are taking advantage of us in a different way. They are stealing who we are fundamentally as people. They are taking not only our feelings, but as well as our thoughts, our understanding of the world. They are taking what makes us fundamentally human, our data, everything that makes us unique, everything that makes us not just a number, but a person. They want to take as much information as humanly possible from an individual to sell them products, to manipulate them into thinking whatever the person who made the video wants them to think, whatever they think that they will engage with the most. They are taking everything that makes us human, everything that makes us unique, and they are trying to put it into boxes to see how profitable we are to the person advertising on something. That is a huge problem that's never been seen before at this scale. People used to have to do studies, but now all they have to do is just buy a packet of data from social media, and that's all they need to study. Next would be political manipulation. Not just the large election manipulation that we've seen over the years, but also the manipulation that we've seen throughout probably the last 5 or 6 years, where they're putting these people into echo chambers. People who were once maybe perceived as normal, now are seen as weirdos, outcasts, because they're on these strange forums hearing these strange thoughts, these strange conspiracies, and quite frankly, these strange ideas from other people on the internet. And the internet is allowing them to push these very, very strange and obscure ideologies. Now, I'm not talking about any kind of left or right or, Democrat or Republican. People are free to consume that media, and the news does a great job of pushing whatever agenda they're paid to push. The problem is when people start getting these very, very strange, dangerous ideas about not just the world leaders like eating people, but something like the world that there is a global elite that controls us and that these elite need to be stopped at whatever cost, which, whatever, you want to believe that, that's fine. But then they are giving people these actionable requests, such as storming the Capitol. That is a bad thing. We don't want things like that to happen. It's very dangerous, giving these young, impressionable youths ideas of what the real problems are in our societies, and then letting them act in such a strange and bizarre way by taking these very, very overt and very violent actions, not just towards each other, but towards whole communities. These children are going out and they are doing very heinous acts, not just towards one another, but to society as a whole, because they want to make a statement. They want to make a point. They want to do something so bold that the world can forget. And if you don't know what I'm alluding to, it happens almost every single day in the United States. Something very, very large, something not too targeted, something that is honestly a very vicious and vile act that we should not be encouraging nor allowing to happen in our country. Next would be child safety. Not just about the political ideologies we're spreading to children, but the safety of a child being online. If you were young and online, you had unfettered access to the internet. Not only unfettered access, but people had unfettered access to you as a child. Now, there's countries like Australia that have been working on things like this, that are not letting kids under the age of 16 be on social media, which honestly, I'm a big advocate for. I don't think there's any reason for a young child to be on social media. Not only not to be on social media, but not to be able to communicate with adults. Why would a grown 30-year-old, 40-year-old man ever have access to a plethora of 13-year-olds alone in a room? That would never happen, right? But through social media, that is 100% what is allowed. Grown men do have access to people who are underage, which is strange. It is very strange, and it wouldn't be allowed in any other real, regular social circumstance. But online, it is completely allowed. Not just is it allowed, but sometimes it's almost encouraged. Discord has now been taking steps to kind of push this notion away that people under the age of 13 are not able to use the platform. If you've seen how they are actually trying to regulate the age restriction, it's pitiful. It's stupid and it's not working. Maybe they'll work on it, but the children that are targeted on Roblox, they are sent to platforms like Discord, or like Telegram, where there is not too much regulation and people can have whatever type of conversations as long as they kind of abide by the terms of service. But that is a very, very nuanced, very strange type of idea of abiding by terms of service. Anyone can abide by terms of service on any platform, including criminals. So that doesn't necessarily stop anyone from doing anything in particular. All it really does is just let the people who we don't want around our youth able to subvert it by just abiding by these little tiny, weird, meticulous rules that they're required to have by the government. The Roblox to Discord pipeline, it's always been discussed, but it's not as isolated, these little situations, as we think. They are real, they happen, they are among us. These people are here and they are abusing the systems that we have to try to keep our youth safe. They are not playing by the set of rules we've given them. They're playing by a different set of rules that they think the law doesn't apply to them because they can subvert almost everything and everyone by just looking and reading between the lines, but still having access to the youth of our nation, which is a problem and nobody agrees with it. In conclusion, social media as a concept is good, but it has evolved and it's created a more isolated generation that breeds insecurity as well as harmful ideologies due to poor/limited regulation. I don't think we need to be constantly policed online, but the way the internet's been able to grow, the wild, wild west type of freedom we've been given has put a lot of not just people, but children in danger and put harmful ideas into people's heads. And I'm not saying to censor these ideas in any particular way, but I'm probably advocating for better regulations because right now it's not regulated enough. We are giving too much freedom to these bad, malicious people to have access to people who are impressionable, people who are in bad situations, and they're looking for a way out. And the way out that they are given is something very strange, something very obscure, and honestly, something very dangerous. If you like what you saw, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See ya.